Okay. We're going to be looking at my X Constrictor, 410 feet per second. Very, very accurate crossbow. It's a little heavy, all geared out, about 10.5 pounds, but I've got the Burrus Oricle X scope, and I'll tell you the story about that. And the Rexing A1 action cam. Put this back down. I had to put pads on the butt in order to look through the Burrus scope. But here's what the I don't know if you can see that or not, but I mounted the cam right on top of the Burrus Oricle X scope. I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm shooting in my living room instead of my gun room because my gun room is a mess. But that X crossbow is my cousin. Was shooting with him the other day before it got turned off cold here, and I up to 50 yards could shoot better than he did because he has the 10.505 nitro, and I shot much better groups at 20, 30, 40, 50, and now he wants one of those scopes. The story about the scope is I was thinking about buying the Burrus because it seemed like a pretty neat gadget. About 3 weeks ago I was at the archery range, and there was a guy a few lanes down from me, and he was cussing and screaming and having a fit, and he came over to me and he had the scope in his hand, the Burrus, and he says, "You want to buy a scope? I can't figure this thing out." He says, "I'm about ready to throw it." And I said, "Well, how much you want for it?" And he said, "Well, how much do you have?" I said, "On me?" And he said, "Yeah." Well, just by chance I would have $200 in my pocket because I was going to go deposit it in the bank after I was through shooting my crossbow. But I pulled that out and I said, "This is all I have, $200. And he snatches the money out of my hand and hands me the scope. So I'm like, "Oh, cool. I'll get to try this out." I like that scope an awful lot. I can shoot quarter-sized targets at 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards with it. I mean, of course, that's bench, that's not freehand shot. But I'll be shooting from my tree stand or my blind with a chair stand that has the death grip turret on it, so that won't be much of a problem. The Rexing action cam, you can pull the cap off the back and you can record what's going on behind you at the same time in the same screen, you'll see what's shooting in front of you. And that's a pretty good thing to have just in case. I'm probably not going to use the back portion of the camera, but it's there if I need it for some reason. I've been shooting 333 grain arrows out of this thing, and we chronographed it with 5 consecutive shots coming off the rail at about 414 feet per second, and it was consistent. So I boosted up the volts to 414 grains, and I could not tell the difference in speed, neither could the chronograph, of that 414 feet per second bolt flying off the rail. So that's my story. I've got a nice crossbow setup. Actually, I have 2. I have a Killer Instinct Boss 405, but I've relegated that as a backup. It's a good shooting crossbow, but the limbs just hang out way too far. And in my blind, I've got a, body shape cutout basically. And in my tree stand, well, it gets tangled up in my tree stand skirt. So that's my backup. I call that one Thump. This one I haven't come up with a name for it yet because I can't think of anything good to name it, because it's not a thump. That sucker comes flying out quick, and at 20, 25, and 30 yards, you hear the whack of the bolt hitting the bag the same time you hear the noise coming from the bow after being shot. So I'm going to experiment around a little bit and see if I can't push that out farther and time the sound somehow or another and see what it sounds like, because like I said, I have not heard that impact over the sound of the bow. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and if you have any thoughts, ask me. And I'm out.